How avoidants react when they lose the right person? It's easy to assume that avoidant people move on quickly, that they walk away from relationships without a second thought. On the surface, they seem calm, even cold when things end. No desperate texts, no dramatic pleas, no emotional breakdowns, just silence. And that silence convinces you they never cared in the first place. But here's what most people don't realize. Avoidants often react the strongest when they lose the right person, but they do it quietly, slowly, and sometimes too late to fix what's broken. Their reaction is hidden beneath pride, confusion, and emotional paralysis. But make no mistake, when they lose someone who truly saw them, understood them, and still stayed, it shakes something deep inside them. At first, their reaction is denial. They tell themselves they're fine. They convince themselves they needed space anyway, that losing you was necessary. They recite the same narrative that's protected them for years. It's better to be alone than to be trapped. Avoidants are masters of disconnecting from their emotions. So in the early stages, they lean hard on rationalizations. They fill the silence with distractions. They bury the grief beneath work, routine, casual flings, or isolation. They may even act relieved, as if they dodged a bullet. But deep down, something begins to stir, because losing the right person isn't like losing just anyone. There's an emotional signature that lingers long after you're gone. Avoidants usually don't feel the full weight of the loss right away. Their emotional processing is slow and delayed. It might take weeks, months, or even years before they confront what they lost. But the signs show up subtly. Maybe they find themselves checking your social media at 1 a.m., wondering if you've moved on. Maybe a song reminds them of you, and they feel something. Not enough to reach out, but enough to stir discomfort. They might even try to recreate the connection with someone new, only to realize the bond doesn't compare. And this is where it begins to hit them. They didn't just lose someone, they lost someone rare. You see, avoidants don't often let people in. They test your patience, push you away, and build emotional walls to see if you'll climb them. So when someone finally sees their core, the part they hide from the world, and loves them anyway, it creates a sense of emotional safety they didn't know they craved. Losing that kind of connection feels destabilizing, but they'll never say that out loud. Instead, they might withdraw even more, or they might pretend nothing's wrong. But inside, they feel an ache they don't know how to name. As time passes, the regret begins to build. Avoidants are not emotionless, they are emotionally avoidant. That means the emotions exist, they're just deeply buried. When the right person is gone, avoidants start reflecting in silence. They remember the small moments, the way you were patient when they pulled away, the way you made them laugh when they felt numb, the way you kept showing up, even when they gave you reasons to walk. And that's when it dawns on them. They lost someone who loved them in a way they didn't know how to receive. And now that it's gone, they realize they may never find it again. But here's the complicated part. Even when regret sets in, most avoidants won't chase you. Why? Because reaching out requires vulnerability. It requires them to say, I was wrong, I miss you, I pushed away something good. And for someone who spent a lifetime running from emotional exposure, that level of honesty feels terrifying. So they stay silent. They check your profile. They ask mutual friends about you. They rehearse the message they'll never send. And in their minds, they wonder if you'd even take them back. But pride keeps them frozen. It's easier to miss you quietly than to risk rejection. Some avoidants do eventually try to reconnect, but it's often awkward and poorly timed. They might send a vague text like, hey, just thinking about you, or randomly reply to an old story. They rarely lead with vulnerability. Instead, they test the waters, looking for signs that you're still open. But if you respond coldly or not at all, they retreat back into their shell. And that just reinforces the story they've always told themselves. People leave. Love is dangerous. It's better to stay distant. What they don't see is that they played a role in the loss. That love didn't leave, they pushed it away. When the right person is gone, an avoidant partner often experiences a slow unraveling of their emotional defenses. They might start questioning their patterns for the first time. They may even consider therapy, or at least start consuming content about attachment styles and emotional intimacy. For many avoidants, the loss of a meaningful connection is their emotional wake-up call. It's what forces them to stop hiding behind detachment. But this only happens if they're willing to grow, and not all are. Some avoidants grieve silently, repeat the same patterns, and never learn the lesson. The tragedy here is that avoidants often confuse safety with distance. They think emotional detachment protects them, when in reality it starves them of the very connection they need. And by the time they realize the cost, the right person has already built a life without them. That realization, that the one person who truly saw them is now someone else's memory, can be deeply painful. But again, they're unlikely to show that pain. Avoidants grieve in silence. They suffer in emotional isolation, and many would rather stay in pain than risk the vulnerability of reconnection. If you were the right person who walked away, you might still wonder if they ever think about you. And the truth is, they do. Probably more often than you think. But the way they process that grief is internal, hidden, and often never acted upon. Their silence doesn't mean indifference. It means fear, shame, and emotional immaturity. They know they lost something valuable, but they're not always equipped to do anything about it. And unless they actively choose healing, they'll carry that regret quietly, often for years. Sometimes life will circle back. Avoidance might return after long periods of no contact, claiming they've changed or that they now see your worth. But by then, you may have already moved on emotionally. And that too is part of their grief, realizing that their healing came too late. They had someone who offered them love, softness, and patience, and they chose distance over depth. That kind of loss doesn't go away. It lingers. Avoidants often learn the hardest lessons through loss. They don't understand what they had until it's no longer available, and even then, they struggle to face the pain fully. But for some, losing the right person becomes the turning point. The moment that forces them to confront the fear that's ruled their relationships for years. Whether they grow from it or not depends on them. But one thing is certain, the right person leaves a mark no silence can erase. So if you're the one who loved an avoidant and you had to walk away, know this. Your presence mattered more than their reaction will ever show. You were not forgettable. You were not replaceable. You were the mirror that showed them what love could be. And now they're left staring into that mirror, haunted by what they let slip away. If this video spoke to your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. Healing from avoidant dynamics isn't easy, but you're not alone, and your love was never wasted. Drop a comment below if you've experienced this too. Until next time, protect your peace and choose yourself first.